Oh, today, welcome. This is the last class of Understanding Women, and we have been on quite a journey. I loved these two last sessions, the chapters that we went through, chapters 41 through 55 are what we're going over today, but the last part of the book, and I've listened to it probably 4 or 5 times, and I still am just like, oh yeah, oh, I love this part. Oh, this is so good. Oh, I forgot that part. So session 7 is all about how to get the best out of women. And I threw in how to reboot the masculine too, because I think it's important for us to know how to support each other. And I love this idea. And I was actually listening to a great podcast with Allison this week, and she was saying how she came into this because she was basically just helping in all these different areas, trying to support community and underprivileged children, women, that kind of thing, and realized that if men are constantly being emasculated and women aren't being supported, then society just isn't going to work. And I love how she pointed out that this is just foundational. It's foundational. Relationships apply to business, to families, to loved ones, to partnership. And it can affect every area of our life. So I hope that this course has really been that for you, something that can support you in each area of your life, to give you these kind of formulas for conversation. And there's a lot of formulas for conversation out there. So I encourage you to find all the ones that you can, because I found some in Landmark. I found some in Positive Conversations. I've found some in Emotion Code Work. There's conversations that we can have that really support us. And the myth is that we just know how to communicate with each other. And fundamentally, we don't. It's like breastfeeding or making love. Like, it's not as intuitive as you would think on this planet it would be, unfortunately. And it's kind of like mind-boggling to me. I'm always like, why don't we just come with these codes? I don't understand. Like, how did I not know this when I was 20? And it's, I guess, all part of the process. So when we go into this first part of session 4, we look at how to reboot a woman. And so I want to go through this, and then I want you guys to be able to practice this, because this is something, if you're with a man, he can use the rebooting the masculine. But I think it's really important to be able to discuss this and share this and say, hey, ouch, like I was hurt, and I'm going to give you the formula to help me to reboot, help me support me in feeling better. And how cool that Allison's created this method. So are there any questions about this or anything that came up for you? I know in the audiobook it's a little bit harder to kind of see in this way, so that's why I made the workbook, so you can really just have this page. You can even make a page of your own and like hand it over to someone. And she said that's how she came up with it, right? She just came up with like, I wish I could just give him something, because when we get hurt, when our feelings get hurt, it like shuts off the throat chakra. It shuts off this part of our being that can actually talk and explain things. So when you're in a triggered state, it's really hard to go, hey, I'm really hurt, and this is exactly how to help me. But what were the magic words that she said man needs to say?
I really appreciated when it's written like, and I'm sorry for that too. And then the woman just keeps going, blah, blah, blah. And you're just like, and I'm sorry for that too. And how Allison explained it, like, you're not necessarily taking responsibility for those things. You're not saying, oh yeah, I did that. But you are saying, I'm sorry that that happened to you. And you're setting your person up for success. And there are just certain things that we can do to set our partners up for success, or our teammates or whatever. I also loved the analogy of the computer. Like when a woman starts sobbing uncontrollably, that is a woman defragging. I just laughed at that because it's like, oh, a guy's brain would get that, and then they would go, okay, that's what she's doing. I don't have to freak out because men don't cry like that in, usually as often as women do. Maybe they do, you know, if they have a child that dies or something. But I've noticed that I cry much more violently than my husband.
Yeah. And just so that this idea that she's defragging and it's going to be okay, it's going to get better, it's not getting worse. I thought that was a really good point too. When she was like, it's actually getting better if she can let this out. And it's again that idea, that visual of emptying the basket, right? And one thing you did say was, I'm sorry that happened to you. Rather than that language, she kept saying, I'm sorry, I hurt your feelings. And I think that's a really big distinction when we're talking about women. Like, it doesn't help to say, I'm sorry that your feelings got hurt, right? Like, that's like screw you kind of thing. Like, you don't say that. It's I'm sorry I hurt your feelings, because that's what it seems like. And for a man to say that, it's actually really humble, because a man doesn't want to have hurt anyone. A good man, right? He's not intentionally hurting anyone. So for him to say those words, I thought it was really interesting how in the book she probably said, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings, like 50 times. She kept saying those exact words, almost to like drill it into our heads that those are the words. It's not any other word. It's maybe adding to it of, I'm really, really, really sorry that I hurt your feelings, but it's not, I'm sorry your feelings are hurt. I'm sorry that you are hurt. It has to be those words. And so, has anyone found other words that really help? I'm curious. Or have you even experienced this? Like, have you had a man say this to you, and how did it go over?
I feel like the thing that I took the most out of this was it normalized whenever like I'm upset, and then all the other extra things, that all the past hurts that come out, and I'm just like, I hate those things. Like, it makes me feel like I just keep going and going, and I'm just like in this trap. And I've asked for apologies, but whenever they feel like they come with like a but, or like it's not clean like this, and I have not experienced someone just saying, I'm sorry for that too. Like, we haven't like learned the system yet together, but I can only feel relief thinking about someone saying that to me. And it's not, and it actually feels relief that it's like they're not trying to take responsibility or do anything else, just like sit with it, right? And then I just love it. Like, it feels like my body feels like totally relieved. Just like, I'm really sorry for that. And it really feels good to say like, oh, thank you. Like, it feels so good to me.
So good. And I thought it was a really, really good point that she said, that this, if he lets you empty the basket and kind of defrag, say those things like empty the petty offense file and kind of go like this with it, they won't be there next time, which is a really great explanation of it, because it really is like, if I can say it now, then I feel, and you acknowledge it, then there's a cleaning of the petty offense file. And sometimes it comes up in a different way, but there really is like a clearing and a healing that can happen, right? So beautiful. um so that was a big part. There was something else. The other thing that I thought was really important was when she said that this is not a time to then ask him to never do it again, or deal make, or come up with solutions, which is really counterintuitive, because like, I always thought that when you bring something up that's upsetting, that you should then make a plan for how that won't happen again. And then
Like,
everyone can be accountable and have integrity with their word and all of that other stuff.
yeah.
And this week I was doing the Imago method with a friend that's doing the program. And the same thing was that this is very similar to it, where it's just a listening. And there's a beautiful clearing that happened for me when I was just acknowledged and listened to. There was this a reflective listening of like, wow, this is what I'm hearing. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, what else? And I'm like, actually, this is coming up. And they're like, yeah, that's what I hear. And what else? And I can see that that's really valid. And it was just like, oh, this total clearing. So if you want to look up the Imago method, it's a really beautiful addition to this for other conversations. But there's something to not saying, well, let's find a solution, or for him to then go afterwards and go, and are you going to take some responsibility, or hey, let's find out a solution, or like, it's really, this isn't that conversation, right? And so what comes up for you around that or this conversation? Any other
Well,
comments?
when are you supposed to bring that other stuff up? Like let it defrag and settle, and then is there a timeline?
Well, I think that for right now, the allowing for this process to work is the beauty of it. And she said sometimes she's not ready to take responsibility for hours, for days, for weeks, for months. Like, unfortunately, there's not a timeline. But there, this is what's really beautiful too about this, because so much of the work we've been doing for the last 6 months is about women learning about men, right? And it's women taking responsibility for not emasculating, for not attacking, for taking responsibility for how we don't bring out the best in men. And this is one of the biggest teachings of Allison's about how men can bring out the best in women and take full responsibility for their role, right? And it's not about making her responsible. It's just fully doing what can support the relationship from the masculine. And this course is about understanding women. And so we can do this for other women, but this is just about showing up for the feminine when when you are committed to bringing out the best in her. And it's not about making her wrong or making her responsible for what she's done. Now, is it important for women to own their stuff and to say sorry? Absolutely. We cover that in all the other courses, but that's not what this is about. In this rebooting process, ouch, my feelings are hurt. And it's his responsibility to come in when it is a good time for him to be present and to be there to say, hey, I hurt your feelings. So it's really, in this conversation, it's hard when a woman has shut down for her to approach and ask for this time. So in understanding women, even if we're with another woman who we've hurt her feelings and she shut down, with another woman, I would do the same thing. And I would come in and say, hey, like, is this a good time? I want to tell you, I'm really sorry for hurting your feelings. Right? But I would think, and this is my interpretation, not Allison's teachings, is like, I would think that it would, once we establish this is the process, this is our agreement, if I say, ouch, this is what I need, then for them to come in. And just another thought on this is, like, it's okay for it to be awkward and for you to hold this sheet in front of you and to read it. Like, I was amazed by how doing this new process and going word for them, like, okay, now I say, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. And then I'm like, okay, reading through it. Okay, I'm going to watch for her deep breath. I'm going to say, I'm sorry for that too. Do you know what I mean? Like, it can be a sheet in front of you. It can be awkward. It can be, okay, now, oh, where did I go from here? I went from, okay, what I understand is that you did it right in the Imago method, but I was like, it was awkward in the wording, and I'm going back and did I do that right? But it still gave me the healing and the listening and the witnessing that I needed. And I found the same thing with this conversation and with the next one, which is how to reboot the masculine. Literally just reading the words and going like, okay, I'm sorry, I disrespected you. Like, it's the words. So, yeah. Judy, I think I heard you saying you had a comment.
As I'm, as I'm listening to this and applying it and listening to all the other stuff of hers, I'm listening. There's a couple of things. I really get triggered about saying, I'm sorry, I hurt your feelings. But I have this belief, right, that I'm not in charge of another person's feelings. So that takes me a moment to step back, right? I mean, we've been in this, so I know what she says about a woman's feelings and all of that, but I've never ever been one to be responsible for another's feelings. So that was, that's a stumbling block to get over. So I'm just owning it because I have daughters. And so
Yeah.
we're like, I'm sorry.
And did you hear the men asking this question? Like in the book, they're also like, okay, hold on a second though. Like it feels disingenuous to say, I'm sorry, I hurt your feelings when I don't think I hurt her feelings. I'm not in charge of her feelings, or I didn't do anything that should have hurt her feelings. And so she really went into that, and I thought it was a really good response. But um, it's just about being committed to partnership. And when it's the thought, I'm sorry that I was in the place that triggered you, and I was the person that was there when you got triggered. Like that's how one of the guys said. She's like, yeah, I don't recommend saying it that way, but that's the idea, right? It's the idea that I'm in partnership with someone and my way of being hurt them. And it doesn't mean that it should have. It doesn't mean that they don't have to take responsibility for their own beingness and everything else. But like if you're in partnership with someone and you can do something to support them and you had an impact on them that you can go forward and heal, then why not do something that works?
But and it really takes being aware of what it is for me, right? Like getting the awareness of that is a stumbler for me, right? Not that I can't do it. It's just that I can be ingenuous with women. It's just that becoming aware that it's a stumbling block for me, right? And then I can clean it up with me or with somebody else. Like it doesn't mean what I'm making it mean, right? It's like I'm not ... So it's going to work good, really good with my kids, right? Because and that's the part of partnership too. Maybe they're not in partnered with you consciously, right? Maybe you don't have the agreement between you, but I can partner with myself to partner with my kids. Well, I mean, they're your guys' ages, right? So it's like it's just the awareness, and I think that's all I'm trying to point to. It's just the awareness of what's hard and what I have to do inside of me so that I'm not quote to blame for ... right?
Mm-hmm. And I love that you brought this up because this is the issue that men almost always come across when they're asked to say, I'm sorry for hurting your feelings. There's like a complete aversion to it. And it's for very similar reasons. Like, I'm in charge of my emotions. Why would that even hurt your feelings? Or whatever comes up, there's an aversion to saying, I'm sorry, I am responsible for hurting you in any way, right? We don't want to be responsible for that. And so there's going to be a certain aversion. For me to say, I'm sorry that I disrespected you, is going to be very difficult with a man because I had no intention of being disrespectful of any man. Like, there's no part of me that wanted to disregard a man or to dishonor a man. Like, that's not who I am on the planet. And so I don't identify like that. And so when he says, you disrespected me, I can either say, no, I didn't. I had no intention of doing that. Or I can say, okay, I know what reboots him. And it's acknowledging that that's exactly how he feels and that in his mind, his experience of me was that I disrespected him. So I'm just going to swallow it and I'm going to say it because I'm committed to him being rebooted and whole and complete in my presence. Right? So that's the game. And I love how simple it is with the men. Like with the woman, it's like this and then this, and I'm going to cry and don't touch me. And there's a lot more complexities. And really with men, he says, this is what hurt me. This is what doesn't feel good. And you literally use the exact words he says. And you say, I'm sorry that and use the exact words. And like she said, it's usually dishonored, disrespected, disregarded, or disloyal, or blew me off or wasted my time. So there's really those 6 things that typically what she's found in her studies, and what you'll notice, and I'd love to hear from Robert or any of the men, whether that rings true. Are there other things that you get hurt or offended or just feel like a woman really does that hurts? I don't know if hurt is even the word, but are there other words other than those 6 words that really resonate with you?
Those do resonate, but so the perspective that I have, which is a little bit off of what Alison says, or the comparison back and forth. Disrespect is disrespect, and this works for a man or a woman can tell when she's been disrespected, correct? All right, so if a man says he's been disrespected and it's in the facts, this is what disrespect looks like, then he's not making something up. She's actually apologizing for her actions. On the reverse side, I've heard situations where a woman gets upset with a man, husband and wife, because she dreamt that he slept with somebody else and then punishes the crap out of him as if he did it. Okay, they don't compare. These 2 things don't compare. And if he says, I'm sorry that I hurt your feelings, he's admitting to sleeping. It depends on the person. I think Alison said this, and this is where I agree with it. This is a gift on one side to the women because the guy didn't do it. And this is, just quoting Alison. Okay. And he's coming here so any attempt to use this as a means to negotiate how he's not going to do it in the future is an abuse of that. That's how I remember her saying it. It's kind of like, oh, well, all right, honey, I will try not to sleep with another woman in your dreams again. I'll do my very best. It's impossible. Absolutely impossible. And so for me, it's like, you're talking about integrity and stuff like that. And I feel like there's integrity in what some of the stuff that you mentioned that the guys have said. Maybe some of them, I don't know, it could be confusions, but it's very much black and white for us. Hey, you're going to meet me at this time? You don't show up, you don't call me or anything along those lines. You blew me off. So I don't know. I at least for the size of the ouch, if that's the way the system works, it can be helpful, yes. As long as the person that I'm working with in this truly appreciates it, and at the end of it goes, well, no, he didn't do anything wrong, and I'm not going to use this as a leverage. In fact, it's a gift. He knows what's going on with me, and it's a gift. As long as we're both on the same team, this is the thing. As long as we're both on the same team. If I feel like the person is now not on the same team and they're trying to use things as leverage, or they're trying to get their way or something along that lines, then that feels like a betrayal, and that's not somebody I'd want to be a partner with.
Yeah, thank you so much. And so again, like this information, and we say this over and over in the course, is for healthy people. Like this information does not work with unhealthy men, with manipulative women, with narcissists. Like there's certain personality types that this information does not work with. So we're talking about, are you in a relationship with someone that is wanting to play with you, is wanting to play the game of relationship? The dream thing, I love that you brought that up, because I was thinking, Yeah, what would have restored me? Because I used to have that dream, Robert, and I would wake up triggered AF. Like it would just, I mean, it was just so triggering. I'd wake up and my heart would be racing and I could see it, like it was so vivid and it was just horrible, you know? And I was upset. And I think that what could have helped and would have been, I'm so sorry that I did that in your dream. I'm so sorry that you had that experience of me in your dream. I love you. Right? And so it's not, I'm sorry I did that because you didn't do it, but you did it in the dream. And so it's like you're in partnership with this person and she dreamed that, right? So it's figuring out a way, it's being creative and resourceful and figuring out how can you restore this person because that's what you're committed to and you're in relationship with them. So that's in just feedback as I'm going through it, and feel free to comment as well on that. But I think we can look at it and go like, what I'm committed to is being the person. And again, Robert, you make a good point too, that if she's gonna manipulate, try to change, like make you make commitments based on like this emotional response, then that's not what this is about and it's not what it's for. And it comes back to this is an emotional response. Emotion is energy in motion. It's giving us messages, but they're not all real and they create stories in our heads. And we don't actually want to act from emotion. We want to act from principle. We don't act from emotion. So as you're triggered and angry and and then you go and make a decision from that place, that's why this conversation isn't about that. It's just about the process of the defrag.
I think it would be nice, and I don't know how much time it is, but if a guy takes on this thing to say these things, it would be nice for the woman at some point in time to come and acknowledge and say, hey, you know what? I realized I put something on you that wasn't you, that wasn't your fault. And, you know, I see that and thank you for being there for me in that time. I think that would be like a beautiful thing to acknowledge. Um, that's just my thought because it is like, yeah.
Yeah, and I hear that, and I hear that request from the masculine, and I think it's totally valid. Like the request is if you're gonna have the rage monster come out, at a certain point, own that it was the rage monster, that there was the petty offense file, that it's the stories in your head, it's the illusions of the mind, it's right like one of my favorite ways to start a conversation, a difficult conversation when I'm not in the rage monster, but I'm triggered or there's something that was upsetting and I want to address something in a relationship is I go, you know, I have the illusion that this has happened, or the story that I have is that you don't have integrity in your word, or whatever the issue is. And it's like, I recognize this is my illusion. It's the stories I've made. It's from my childhood. It's probably from a lot of different things, but it is my story. And so, and I do find that we can find a lot of healing in. So what I really want us to be able to do is to jump into the breakout rooms, because I love when all of you get to to go through this and get to practice place.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, welcome back. I hope there were some good conversations. It was super quick, but I wanted you to be able to jump in there. And one thing that I realized I didn't really distinguish is those cards are like literally like you print it off and you hand it to them. So it's like an instruction manual, right? So it's a little confusing. It's like, is this for the man or is it for the woman? It's like you're giving that instruction card. It's like a manual. So I don't know if that was clear for everyone, but any shares from the breakout rooms? I love to hear what you guys, did you figure something out or did you have an aha? Yeah, Robert.
So there's this term that a friend of mine used that got from her therapist, and it's impaired. And so I love that term. It's like if you feel that your partner's currently impaired, then you're coming to help an impaired person. It's a different feel than if you're throwing on them in that moment that they're fully responsible person and in full control of their their faculties. So I find that helpful. It's like, oh, this partner's drunk. I'm just going to steer them to the car and put them into bed and wrap them up. Yeah, to bring them a towel or whatever they need. It's a different place.
I love that.
Yeah.
So you said it's like they're drunk. Is that what you said?
And the term is impaired.
Impaired. Yeah. Like
Right,
mentally
right.
impaired. I feel
Yeah.
mentally impaired when the rage monster hits. Like I feel like some other part of has taken over. And then she says, like, there's a part of you that's like, no, I just want to and then there's another part that's like, yeah, there's like a mental impairity. So why would you expect the person to like start taking full responsibility at that point? So beautiful. Thank you. Anything else, Brooke?
Rebecca and I were just talking about how, I mean, this and all the information is just sort of like, oh, it's such a relief that I'm not a crazy person. We're not crazy women, that we are just women, and that this is normal, and that this is how our brain goes, and we don't have to apologize for it. We do have to be responsible for it, but we also can just say, oh, this is actually how I am, and just laughing out loud with all the different things, like checking in with everyone after you've made the meal, like, do you like it? Do you like it? Am I pleasing? It's like we wouldn't ever admit that we do that, but then we identify and we're like, oh my gosh, that's me. So it's just so great to get this. And then sometimes what we also both are finding is that our husbands don't think it's so revolutionary. Like we're like, yeah, listen to this. You'll get me a lot more if you listen to this. And they're just sort of like, okay, on to another podcast or book or something. But like, no, this is like a manual for your partner, like really important information.
Oh, like when I was listening to chapter 7, I was like, oh my gosh, every man on the planet needs to listen to this. This is like so good. It's so good. And so yeah, it's really beautiful. And so and it's like the rage monster is kind of a bit of the price of having a magnificent goddess in your life, like it just going, you know what, if you really want the feminine and you want all of the feminine, which is the storms and the warrior and the queen and the mother, and like there's just the manual is so much more complex for women. And just like this spreadsheet of like there's a lot more instructions here than for the masculine in like say the words he said and say I'm sorry for da da da, right? But I want to move on to the next section because it's so beautiful how this, and if you want to learn more about this, the Queen's Code, her I don't know what course it is, but I'll put it in the email, but it's the course, and maybe Catalina, but it's the one that has the whole spreadsheet of like your queen's attributes and your noble attributes. And really that what she touches on in the book is like, if you were a fairy godmother and you were able to just give every person in your life these ways of being, what would they be? And I really want all of you to put those in the chat, like just to give ideas to other women. It's really just like light and love. It's really simple, but the more I kind of hone it down, and everything that I do, all my classes, all my teachings, it's choosing love over fear, it's relationships and love, it's you know, using your mind as a tool so you can experience more joy and come into more peace, right? It's so much of just what I love to geek out on and study and give and show up in the world as. But I'm curious what are yours? If you could just give any attributes, any ways of being to any woman and any man even, and bring that into the world, what are they? So put those in the chat as we go through this, and then what you do in that course and what she suggests doing is looking at what brings that out in you. And one of the things that she really touches on and talks about is sleep, right? Like in every single one of those, and I have my chart of noble qualities, and I have like my 8 or 9 noble qualities that I've written out, and I know what they are. And I can look at it and go, what do I need in order to embody that? How often do I need that? How many times a day? What gives me that? Who can support me in that? What if I were to ask for support in that? What would it be? It's again coming back to that question that we've talked about in so many of the courses, is what am I committed to? Right? And once I have a commitment, then I have a need. And then I can go into partnership. But if I have no needs, if I have no commitment, then I have no needs. And then I don't have anything to request, and I don't need partnership for anything, right? And so beautiful, like Brooke says, feminine confidence, bravery, intelligent choice, and making intelligent choice making abilities. So when you look at that and you go, what gives me bravery? What helps me to feel brave? What do I need in life? A lot of times it's sleep. Like I feel more weak, my shoulders, sometimes it's water, sometimes it's compliments, right? And so then you have a reason, because your partner wants you to be brave. And what does bravery look like? What are you able to do when you're brave? And for your partner to want that for you and explaining what the ROI of your bravery is in his life, right? And then explaining what exactly gives you that, right? Harmony, so beautiful. Like Catalina, what allows you to embody harmony and acceptance?
Well, certainly sleep.
Right?
Without sleep, for me, there's no access to any noble qualities. And there's no access to human spirit.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I thought it was interesting. She said the feminine qualities are what sleep gives us.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was really interesting. It's not like nobility or honor. It's like creativity and freedom and feeling like love and joy, like these kind of feminine things that sleep really does give us. Touch and affection gives me so many of my qualities, right? Affirmation.
Affirmation, yeah, good one.
Puttering, like not feeling busy all the time and pushed for time and time limits, right? That gives me a lot of freedom to be me and not be in the masculine or the stressed out Paige version of Paige, right? So I would challenge you to really look at this and look at who you are in the world, who you're committed to being, and what you need in order to do that, and then go into partnership in co-creation, right? You can really ask for support in this with your partner as the feminine, and men, for you to like go into conversation in this too, of like what helps you to be more of you. And in a conversation I had this week, there was so much of kind of seeing that what my friend was asking for was the things that would allow her to be more of her. And I just reflected to her, like, I want more of you. Like, whatever I can do to support you in being 100% you, that's what I want for you. And that's who I am in your life, right? I want all of Sheila. I want all of Brooke. I want all of Catalina. And so how can we do that for each other? How can we be that in partnership to bring out the beauty in each one of us? So any final questions about that?
I was just gonna say that I recall Allison sharing that partnership truly is the sharing of one's heart, but not my heart, it's our heart, which creates the human spirit, which is what would have you want to do all of this. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And it comes to the final point she makes in the book of like the sparkle.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's something in partnership between a man and a woman that is so enlivening. Like she said, when a group of women are together, there isn't the sparkle that there is when a woman is with a man. And when there is that sparkle, then everyone in the room knows that she's in love, you know?
Yep.
And I feel that, like, I just feel this for me right now in my life, just this like draw towards being in that sparkle, to
Yes.
be sparkling, because it's so enlivening. It's so invigorating and motivating for me. Like I want to be more of me when I'm in love and when I have that sparkle. And so there's something really magical between the masculine and feminine when we get to experience love, partnership, polarity, whatever it is. It's something that's unattainable outside of that kind of partnership.
Yep.
Yeah, really beautiful. So, so may you all sparkle. I love you all so much. I want to share a few things, and I'm really glad that that I have these things to offer because it's so exciting. And I want to share my screen and invite you to all of these things because they're what are coming up and how you can step into more partnership with me, and I can have more partnership with you and help you step into more of who you are. So from the retreat, we have a group of amazing people that we're going to go through these 5 different topics over the next 6 months and have a retreat as well. So it is, we're really diving into love and fear. And this is a lot from the Course in Miracles and from the studies I've done over the last 4 years around choosing love over fear. It's some of the most powerful work I've ever done and studied and embodied. And my belief is that when we choose from fear, it's chaotic. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But when we choose from love, it always, always works. It always works out for us. And it's a beautiful experience to step into more peace and understand this concept more. I think it's really the secret sauce to life. The other secret sauce to life is gratitude, and we're going to spend a whole month just diving into lighting our life up with gratitude. And so the other aspects we're going to have in the mastermind is grief recovery and the formula for success, using our mind as a tool. And a lot of this applies to partnership. It applies to creating lives that we love. So what I'm all about is helping people spiral up into a life that they love. You can do one of these months with us, or you can do all of the months. If you do 6 months or more, you get a retreat for $250, which is about an 80% discount. So you can the payments go towards a retreat. They also get you a monthly hypnosis session with me, and you can do 25% off any of the other programs and stuff that I do. So it's $33 a month. It's super easy, and I wanted to make it affordable for everyone to play with us and to also get the one-on-one support, which one session is $180. And so just that alone is incredible offer. And then you also are paying towards a retreat. And I have my canoe retreat coming up, which is co-ed. I have a women's retreat coming up in May that is about discovering yourself in every way from, this is more for women, but it's your cycle, it's your astrology, it's your human design, and it's creating like a structured plan for how you want to eat, how you want to exercise, how you want to interact in your relationships, all from the retreat. So it's a really cool retreat that's coming up in May, and I can tell you more about that. But those are all things that are just happening and coming forward, and it's really exciting. This is another thing that I have to tell you about because it's just coming up in 2 weeks. I am speaking at this event that Legendary, I've gone all over the world, and I've worked with them for the last 7 years, but maybe 5 years, but it feels like forever. I absolutely love this. And it's a 3-day event around relationships. And I have 10 free tickets that I can give away. And so if you go to legendaryseminar.com and you put in Paige loves you, you're going to get a free ticket. And so the deal is that you have to go for all 3 days, and it's from 9 a.m. until 7 or 8 p.m. It's literally one of the coolest events you could ever go to. I've gone to Tony Robbins, I've gone to Christian Michelson, I've been to Joe Dispenza. I love these the best. They're so connective, they're so enlightening, and they just work like crazy. So I want to invite you all to that, and you can get a free ticket, which is really awesome.
Are they in person? You have to be in person, or it's
all
online?
in person. It's in Salt Lake City. Yeah. So, yeah, let me know even if you're going to fly in, you can, I may have some room in my house. I want you to come. So that's that coming up. Another final thing is I do breakthrough work, and it is really powerful. I know that we've done a few little parts work things in this class, but I love working with people to help them have breakthroughs around confidence, around, I work with a little 10-year-old who struggles to go to school, and she did this beautiful breakthrough session where she found this part that gave her this trophy and fills her with courage, and she's gone to school every day without a problem. And then I've worked with a guy who's struggled with tons of health problems, and he could visualize himself and see him going to college and stepping back onto his life path that he wants to. One of my clients hasn't eaten vegetables for 50 years. She was beaten as a child by her father, who was really abusive around eating, and she developed this idea that she'd throw up if she ate fruits and vegetables. And she hopped on, and she got into, and she just went, at the end of the session, she goes, wait, after our 3rd session, she goes, I went to Olive Garden and I ate spinach, carrots, and potatoes in my soup, and I just remembered. And so there's just beautiful breakthroughs. Helping a woman that has failed her test 2 times to get it pass her counseling test, and she's taking it on Saturday, and she's on cloud 9, and she's gotten 85% on her tests as she's been practicing. So it's just incredible work when you go in, and what I love about this work is I don't have the answers for you. Each one of these people have found their own answers. They found the wisdom within themselves, and they've found the healing that is available to them when they get still and they are able to see the answers and the wisdom for themselves. And I just get to be the guide. So if you think of anyone when you're hearing these stories, or if you want to do a session and you're struggling with something, or if you want to take your life to the next level, then I would love to do a session with you. And like I said, in the mastermind, you get one of those sessions each month. And so if you want to be consistent in having that kind of support, that's a really great option. And if you just go to paige360.com, that is going to get you to the mastermind. And if you go to thelifethatyouLove.com, that's where you'll be able to see the retreats and courses and everything that I'm doing. So I wanted to invite you to all of that, and thank you for being a part of this course. It is an absolute joy to be on this journey with you into partnership. A lot of it is like, I was on a date a while back, and I was like, yeah, I teach these classes about relationships, but it's not because I'm an expert. It's just I really want to understand this stuff and I really want to learn it. So a lot of it is just that I want to learn this stuff and I love learning it with other people. And so I just thank you for being on this journey with me so that I can understand it better and I can pick men's brains like I have and hear women's perspectives on this work of Allison's that I love so much. So
Paige, there's a question. When will the mastermind start?
yeah, it starts next week. So it's super last minute, but it's going to be Tuesdays at 1 are the classes, and there's always going to be recordings. And then the retreat is the second week of September for the women's retreat. Another one is May 20th. That's the one that's coming up around knowing yourself. My canoe retreat in the Ozarks is also in May. So those are the 3 retreats that are coming up, and there will be another one in later in the fall. So
everything, all the information is on page 360.
you can get to it from there or thelifethatyouLove.com. But right now, the pop-up on page 360 is for the mastermind. So if you want to check out the mastermind, it takes you over to the registration page for that. And that does start next week. So again, you can do 1 month or you can do all 6. There's just constant classes like this that you can join in on and play in this realm with me. So, and all the wonderful people that are in this realm. So
yes.
yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll stay on for a few more minutes to answer questions, but we're complete for now and love you all so much. Look, Catalina has something. Did you paint that? Oh, that's the one. So I did a hypnosis with her. It was so beautiful. And she had this vision of this beach with all these hammocks. Here, come off mute, Catalina.
I just printed it out. It sits next to my desk so I can look at it every day.
Yeah, today I did a session with someone and she, it was this hot spring and this blue rose that she gave her guardian of her heart. And I made the image. She's like, I'm getting a tattoo of that. Like, she was like obsessed. I'm like, oh, slow down, but we definitely want to remember it.
Very impactful. Yeah, very impactful.
Yeah, it's something that you can remember for the rest of your life. And I do a lot of IFS, internal family systems, and I was listening to his book again, and he was saying he's studied all this stuff about psychedelics and about access to the subconscious, and before, and he just kind of thought of it as it's the mind works in symbols, but it's actually like accessing a different realm. And I find that in my sessions, like it's very similar to like a psychedelic journey. It's just 1 hour and then you come out feeling really, really good, you know?
Very relaxed.
Yeah, you get to go into your inner mind and find these like different realms and spaces and where anything's possible. It's really a really cool thing.
And then transform it. You did with our other sister, just a total transformation of one part of her.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious to just see her like now act like this love queen who's just endowing people with, sprinkling people with goodness. Yeah.
I don't think she'd mind, but she ever since she was a child, she's had this anger in her, just like real rage. And everyone that knows her kind of knows anyone close knows she has this, and she was able to transform it in her journey. That was just really magnificent, and the resourcefulness of her mind to give her the gifts that she needed in order to step into a new way of being. And this part really, really stepped in big. It was really cool to see and really fun. So yeah, it's really neat work.
It's amazing.
Mm.
Everybody should do it.
It's really beautiful. I love Julia's like one of the funnest people to work with. She sees like the most amazing things. She's like, there are fairies and flowers and hot springs and waterfalls. And I'm like, wow, I love your brain. This is amazing. So good. So there are 5 classes, and I can just link all the YouTubes together so that you can binge watch if you want.
That'd be super, because I know I found a couple of them, but I didn't see all of them in my email. So that'd be super.
Yeah.
Catch up.
Yeah.
I
That would
can-
be helpful.
Yeah, I'll do that. So yeah, hopefully I have them all. I think I do. But I'll definitely send all of those out and the links to everything, because it's when I'm just spouting everything off that's going on, it's a little bit confusing. So I'll definitely share those links as well. But
Bill, because I was busy doing some other programs, but he listened to the whole book on his own and was interested. Like, he was open and ready to listen to the book, because he's always searching for how can we, improve our relationship. And I'll tell you, I think it was super impactful, because I was gone for 10 days, which I haven't ever been gone that long away from him. And I was in this retreat, and we FaceTimed a few times, but coming home, I think just him understanding women a little bit better. I just noticed he put forth so much effort to just give me space to transition when I got home, to rest, to get over jet lag. He didn't put any pressure on me. He had presents on the table when I got home, and flowers and Valentine's stuff. I mean, it was really cool. Like, I do love little gifts, and he just had the house clean and was just so cheerful and happy, and just let me, sleep and cuddle when it was time to cuddle. And I don't know, it was just really beautiful that I felt so honored that he gave me space and didn't put any pressure for his needs to be met. He gave me total time and space. And like, I don't know. I just think a lot of it was probably because we had been in this course and he'd been listening to that too. And in that mindset of understanding and trying to be there to show up as a support. It
Well,
makes
thank you, babe.
it makes me want to show up for him more, right? And so then I feel like, oh, that was so sweet. Like, I feel so grateful. Like, I want to show up as my best self. So when I start feeling like today, I had gone to the gym, I'd worked out, but then I started feeling kind of anxious in the middle of the day, and I could tell I was starting to feel off. So I vocalized it to him. He's like, here, let's go work on your neck. So we went on the massage table. He worked on my neck. He's like, okay, go take a rest for a little while. And so I rested, and then I felt totally better when I got up, right? It's just kind of noticing each other's needs, physical needs and emotional needs, and then allowing the space for that. And I think he's gotten so much better at that since we've been, doing these programs with Allison and you. For sure.
Oh my gosh. Yay, Bill. We'll all celebrate you and say, well, like, thank you for being such a wonderful man in the world. So
And then people to share, like, I'm at this women's retreat and I'm sharing all these little tools and resources. And then I'm able to share what you're doing with like new people that I'm meeting. And I think that's the beauty of what we all can do to get more people being awareness. Even if you share with one person, hey, there's, my friend's doing these workshops and they're really amazing, look into it.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Bill's on.
They use the words
Or
too. It would
is
make
that-
me happy. What would really make me happy is.
That's good. That's good.
Because he probably doesn't know. They don't know what'll make you happy. They just try to not upset you. If you can give them a hint of saying what would really make me happy is blah blah blah. Not in the middle of any upset, but just out of context. And the other thing is I teach all of my friends everything I've learned because I need to learn it. And so to figure out what I've actually learned and how it actually works, I teach all of my friends, and they know they can count on me for that. So like what you said, Julia, is everybody needs this. Well, everybody in my circle knows, like, if I went and learned it, they're going to learn it. So they know the source. And finally, the thing that how I got so anchored in all of Allison's work is, I've been with her forever, and I taught everybody everything that I learned every single time. And I also interview men all the time.
Yeah.
I interview men all the time. Tell me, about you. Do you think that you have stages of development? What would it be like? And I use it as a suggestion, and I find out who they are. I never tell them who they are.
Hmm.
Never tell them. I don't tell them that they're knights, princes, or kings. I ask them, I go, I have this concept of, and I see it in my boys, and, how do you relate to that? Does that make sense to you? So it's like a great conversation starter, so that's how I've used it in my life. And it works everywhere. It just, because there's only men and women on the planet.
I love that so much. And like the invitation,
Works
let's all
everywhere.
interview men in our life. I think it's like a really beautiful practice. Yeah.
I was at a sort of a retreat type thing. It was a massive birthday party for like 20 people. And so there were 70 of us because everybody had birthdays or anniversaries. And so we just made one huge celebration. And I said, I'm going to interview men. And so I had kind of picked like 3 or 4 people to interview. And then all of a sudden I looked up and the line was out the door. I was going like, no, no, no. No, wait. Oh, wait. I said I wanted to know these questions. I wanted to know the answers. So, and that was how Allison started. And I just mimicked her. I went, if she got there, I want to get what she got as fast as she got it. So, and there was the men were just lined up. They couldn't wait to tell their answers.
That's cool.
It was great.
And that was like 25 years ago, yeah?
Like 25 years ago. Yeah. I started with Allison in 1996.
Wow.
And it was
Wow.
grassroots. It wasn't the thing. It wasn't the thing yet. It was just becoming a thing. So
So cool.
it's
So cool.
fascinating. Yeah. And it's changed my life.
Wow.
Changed my life. Because it's like there's men everywhere. Somebody says, well, it's just in my romantic relationship. No, there's men everywhere in work.
Yeah, half the planet.
They're everywhere. Go figure. So
Yeah, beautiful.
yeah. And I just practice. I practice. That's the other thing I tell my friends. Just practice, stop trying to, just stop trying to figure it out. Whatever you heard and whatever you learned, practice that. That's way better than you had the minute before. Whatever you had the minute before wasn't that. So it doesn't matter how it turns out.
Yeah. It's like that, taking that sheet and just practicing, like, hey, I'm going to give you the sheet and let's just practice going through this conversation. Like, and how cool to have a partner that's willing to practice with you and play.
Yeah, and that was part of the conversation of, it would really make me happy if. What would really make me happy is. Because we don't tell our partners what really makes us happy. We really don't. We think that they can guess or intuit, and if they really knew us really, really well, they would know what we want. No,
They should know.
They should know. They don't.
Yeah, it's a really hard thing. I've talked to so many women that like really deeply, deeply desire their partner to know. Like it's just a fundamental, like, I just want him to know what I need and do it. It would fill me up so much. It would give me this, this, and this. And it's like, yeah, and you probably aren't going to get it. Like, I just hate to even say it, but it's like, but what I do know is that the more I interview men and the more I get to know good, like the good men of the planet, they really just want you to be happy.
Yep. And they want, look, sports has rules and guidelines and how you win the game. And everybody told you the rules of how you win. We need to have that in relationship. Yeah. Tell them how to win and how they win the game. What are the rules?
Yeah. And so maybe like with women that are like, well, I just want him to, know when I need to be touched or nurtured or have a massage or have him make dinner for me. But maybe that's part of the manual of saying, hey, like when I'm feeling down, these are the 3 things that would nurture me. And what nurturing gives me is this, this, and this, right? So we can still set them up to intuit a little bit at least. Like if you see my head down and my eyes close and look away from you, like I'd really love for you to come over and touch me, you know, and
Yeah.
whatever. So it's figuring it out. There's so much figuring out with partnership.
It's the recipe. Just give them the recipe of you.
Yeah, it's different for everyone.
Yeah, because if, you know, I don't want anybody to treat me like they treated the last woman or the other woman. I want to be treated as this woman. So I want them to know this model.
Yeah.
I want to demonstrate and tell and display this model to its best ability. So, and I want them to get related to that.
Manual.
So I'm responsible for telling how this model works, you know, this version of this is this version.
Right.
Yeah. I don't really want them guessing. I used to. I did. I wanted them to know everything
I
about me.
know. There's
Give it to me when I
like,
want.
what's with that? I want to ask Allison, like, what's with the instinct of the feminine to want men to read our minds? Like, it's pretty fundamental though.
But she makes a lot of points that are really valid, and like I was re-listening to the part about the veto power today, and and who has more strength and more influence and stuff if you make more money, or because men are stronger and all that stuff. And yeah, that was all good points. I like that. Yeah, it's good to listen over again and you hear more stuff that's even better. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't even touch on the veto, but that's such a huge a huge one of women feeling just like invalidated and not like a part of the partnership when the veto is used, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for men to understand like what that veto power actually is, and for women to know when it is. Yeah, that's something I definitely want to study more around. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up because we didn't even touch on it. There's so much to touch on.
Yeah, what it says, have the veto power and then work from there. Let them feel like they have the veto power, but then you talk about it or something. Yeah. I'm sure you know that. But anyway, that was interesting.
Yeah, the answer is to say, hey, you have the veto and here are all my ideas, so that they can actually open up their brain and go, okay, I'm going to listen just to the ideas. Because otherwise it's just no, 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 no. Because
yeah,
the veto is in protection mode, right?
Yeah.
And I love the compassion and the like understanding that it gives me to go like, oh, like so often when I learn this stuff, I'm like, oh, men are amazing. Like before it's like, what a jerk. And then it's like, oh, he's totally committed to protecting and providing. Like how beautiful that he's just like, no, like this is what I know how I'm going to protect and provide. And so I'm going to say no to that. And it comes from a place of protection, not of like, I'm a jerk, you know? And so this like, it kind of gives me this like, oh, that kind of feeling.
Yeah. See it from a totally different perspective. Yeah. I like that.
That you can like appreciate them. It's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you for doing this class.
Really fun. Really fun. Well, we'll have to do it again sometime, but I'm gonna step away from Allison's stuff. I've done it since July, like nonstop. So this is the first time I'm like not fully ingrained in her work for a very long time, but I'll still always be talking about it nonstop. Like any conversation I have, I'm just like always talking about Allison's. Oh, well, Allison says this. Well, Allison says that. So it's good stuff. Okay, love you all. Thank you for being on. We'll see you. Thanks so much for your contributions. See you soon.
Thank you.
Hopefully
Thank you.